Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Our praise song is "O Come All You Faithful," verses 1 through 3. It is 135 in the New Century Hymnal. You can find it under your seat. Don't forget, we got instruments over there in the back corner. Finger labyrinths are over there as well. Let's stand as we are able in body or in heart and sing together. You may be seated. So good morning on this third Sunday of Advent, our Joy Sunday. In the midst of Joy Sunday, we have some news to share with you. That's for those of you who know Jim Bolin, and for those of you who don't, you might be sad as well. He has been in the hospital for about a week with some kidney issues and abdominal issues, and yesterday I got a text that he's on hospice. So I visited him yesterday, and I will continue to visit him. If you want to visit him, let me know. I'm sure the family would love to have that expression of love from Plymouth. Ambi, as you know, has been so faithful to bring her father here. Let's just pray as much as we can for Jim at this time of transition. When I was with him yesterday, one of the things that touched my heart is, for those of you who know him, he loves to tell stories, and he was telling stories. They didn't all necessarily track in terms of the words that he was using, but he was super expressive about it. He was remembering something and sharing it. So that was really cool to experience. So pray for Jim and Ambi and family, and let me know if you'd like to visit. Also, another bit of sad news is that Barbara Williams is going to be moving to San Antonio. Barbara, for those of you who might not know her name, sits out there in the narthex most of the time and is often a greeter. But her niece has invited her to come so that she can help take care of her. So send prayers. And also, if you want to send a card or something, I'm sure we're going to find her address, and we can do that. So that's some sad news on this Joy Sunday, but we're going to still celebrate today. And tonight, we can lift those things up at our Blue Christmas service. If any of you want to come to the Blue Christmas service at 6:30, we'll be having that. The December 21st Winter Solstice celebration, Judy has reminded me I really need to tell you, there will be s'mores. Come for the s'mores, if nothing else. And then, of course, our Christmas Eve service. So now, with all of that, let's bring ourselves fully to this time and to this place. This very morning is an example of how complex life is. Good things, hard things, they all happen at the same time. Today we emphasize joy, and it's good for us to do that. So where in your body is there joy? How do you get a sense of energy in your physical self? Breathe into that and know that whatever aches and pains, whatever stuff that's going on that's making you feel a little bit slow, there's something in your body, I'm sure, that has joy, that has energy, vibrancy. And that can lend itself, its energy, to the rest of you. Maybe not to fix the aches and pains, but to give it a foundation to rest on. The same happens with our mind. Intellectually, we've got places where we're excited to be thinking about certain things, in anticipating or in strategizing. How can that joy fill your mind so that the stuff that you have to figure out that's harder, you have the energy to do that? Where's the joy inside of you emotionally? Where's that energy? The ripples of excitement, brightness. And how can that energy lend itself to the other aspects of your emotions? To help you withstand whatever you need to withstand or endure whatever you need to endure. May the complexity of our emotional landscape work together so that we can continue moving forward and not be concerned about the fact that part of us is emotionally dragging, but we can manage it. Because there is something emotionally that is good. Spiritually, the same way. Where do you find your spiritual joy? How do you express spiritually that joy? And how can the expression of that spiritual joy help to undergird the places where spiritually it's not joyful? How can your spiritual joy help to undergird all aspects of yourself? Give energy and life and vibrancy. I know joy might not be the overarching experience that you have this morning, but maybe it is. And so not only do we get to tap into those parts of us that have joy, but also into the greater energy of joy that's in the room and that's in the spirit, so that we can make this day a day of strength, a day of something to look forward to, vibrancy. So let's create this moment together. Let's tap into spirit, into the divine, and into one another as we bring ourselves fully to this time and to this place.
Friends, let us rise in body or spirit as we join our voices in this morning's call to worship. In Advent, we watch and wait.
We prepare to welcome the Christ child into the world.
Come, holy child, come.
In Advent, we prepare for a life of discipleship.
We watch for signs of God's presence breaking into the world.
Come, holy child, come.
We watch for signs of God's divine nature in each of us. Come, holy child, come.
Come, holy child, remind us of our divine essence and holy calling to joy.
Let's sing together. It came upon a midnight clear, verses 1 through 3. It's in Number 131 from the New Central Hymnal, which you can find under your seat. You're already standing. Let us sing.
Upon the midnight wind, the glorious song of old, from angels bending near the earth to touch their harps of gold. Peace on the earth, goodwill to all, great news of joy we bring. The world in solemn stillness lay to hear the angels sing. Still through the cloven skies they come, with peaceful wings unfurled, and still their heavenly music goes for all the weary world. Above its sad and lowly place, they bend on hovering green, and o'er its babel sounds the blessed angels sing. And you, beneath life's crushing force, whose forms are bending low, who toil along the climbing way with painful steps and slow, look now, for glad and golden hours come swiftly on the wing. Oh, rest beside the weary road and hear the angels sing.
I'd like to introduce to you the Bowman Clark family.
It is the season of short days and long nights. We light this candle to remember that even in natural darkness our light shines. As we join the flames of our souls, our light burns even brighter to be seen from farther away. Let us not be afraid to shine brightly together, inviting others to join with us in the day and in the night.
Our first biblical witness is from Nehemiah chapter 8, verses 9 through 12. It says this: Nehemiah, who was the governor, and Ezra the priest and scribe, and the Levites who taught the people, said to all the people, "This day is holy to the Lord your God. Do not mourn or weep." For all the people wept when they heard the words of the law. Then he said to them, "Go your way. Eat the fat, drink sweet wine, send portions to them, to those for whom nothing is prepared. For this day is holy to the Lord our God. And do not be grieved, for the joy of the Lord is your strength." So the Levites stilled all the people, saying, "Be quiet, for this day is holy. Don't be grieved." And all the people went their way to eat and drink and to send portions and to make great rejoicing, because they had understood the words that were declared to them.
The second biblical witness is from Psalms 16, 7 through 11. I bless the Lord who gives me counsel. In the night also my heart instructs me. I keep holy love always before me. Because God is at my right hand, I shall not be moved. Therefore my heart is glad, and my soul rejoices. My body also rests secure. For you do not give me up to Sheol, or let your faithful one see the pit. You show me the path of life. In your presence, there is fullness of joy. In your right hand are pleasures forevermore.
So some days are particularly good days. You wake up and you feel really alert. You're excited to start your day. Everything you touch seems to work. Or maybe something does go wrong, but it doesn't bother you very much. And at the end of the day, you feel like you've really accomplished something. Feeling good makes the day smoother. Having a clear head and heart encourages a sense of accomplishment. We love those days, don't we? Those are great days. Then there are other days, right? Particularly bad days. Maybe upon waking, things are just off. Or the day might have started off well and you received some terrible news. There are so many ways a day can go badly, sometimes irretrievably. Our readings today address those times that aren't going so well. There's a sense from the writers that things are starting to spiral downward. The writers aren't naive in their approach when they talk about rejoicing and joy. It's more like they're determined. When the leaders read the book of the law to the people in the book of Nehemiah, the people were shaken. It was an intense day. And likely everybody heard something different. It's not like the readings we do here, where, it's just like a paragraph. They read the book of the law. They read it all. And they kept reading it. So who knows who heard what and how it impacted them. But they were feeling fragile emotionally. And they started to weep because of the intensity of what they'd heard and the uncertainty of what it was going to mean to them. Nehemiah redirected them. He told them to celebrate because no matter what it all was going to mean, this day was a holy day, and you celebrate holy days. When they experienced together, that day was holy. He encouraged them to feast. He encouraged them to party. He also told them that if they had an abundance, and they saw that somebody didn't have enough to party with, they were to put a party in a box and send it to them. Everybody needs to celebrate today. Make sure if you see any lack that you fill it, if you've got enough. Why? He said, because the joy of the Lord is your strength. No matter what happens next, the joy of the Lord is your strength. They needed strength to figure out the implications of how their lives were unfolding. And the best way to do that was to begin with celebration. With that as their foundation, they could move through anything. The psalmist has a similar expectation of life. For the psalmist, it's God's presence that brings a sense of celebration, stability, and joy. Their confidence that they will not end up in despair because of their circumstances is based on their experience of God's presence as joyful. I can go through anything. God is with me. God is not just with me like a benign, neutral shadow, but God's very presence enlivens me. So I can do this. A friend of mine shared a quote with me by Ari Hanavar, saying perhaps the most radical act of resistance in the face of adversity is to live joyfully. I said to myself, who is Ari? I don't know this person. Does she know what she's talking about? So I looked her up. She knows what she's talking about. She's an Iranian writer and visual artist who lives in the United States now. She's the founder of the humanitarian organization Rumi with a View. Rumi, as in the poet. Very, very clever. Rumi with a View. That's also the name of her website, so you can look her up. I read a little bit about her life. read some articles, some interviews that she had about her life in Iran. It held more fear and devastation than I can imagine having in my life. So when she says, living joyfully is possibly the most radical act of resistance, I'm going to pay attention. She knows what she's talking about. She uses activities like dance and music and drumming to shift energies away from trauma toward freedom and joy. So here we are on this third Sunday of Advent, Joy Sunday. This builds on our first Sunday of hope, our second Sunday of peace. The Advent season initially was meant as a way to ritualize our expectation of the second coming of Jesus, which believers thought was going to happen in a literal way at any moment. So prepare yourself. That's what Advent is. We're waiting. We're waiting for the second coming of Jesus. So hold fast. Get things right. Generations went on. And then more generations went on. And it never happened. So we've shifted our thinking. We're not expecting this imminent second coming of Christ to transform the world. Now we reflect on the anticipation of the birth of Jesus and what that meant in his time, and what does that mean for us today? And as we look forward, there's less of an emphasis on this end of the world event of Jesus returning and more on what it means to live Christ's vision and mission in the world we live in every single day. When we practice the teachings of Jesus in our lives, the Spirit of Christ is in our midst. While there's still work to be done to make this world kinder and more loving, there's a lot of good that we can rejoice in. Holding these good things in our hearts helps us to have energy to continue pushing against the structures that really need to change. Because bad news can sometimes be overwhelming. It's important to make joy a part of our spiritual practice. So this Sunday reminds us to continue or renew that practice. And I would suggest that as we live our lives as Christ, that throughout the generations, over and over, we are this second coming of Christ in the world. It is through us that the presence is made manifest. There's another aspect of joy and resistance that I think is important. Sometimes, because there are many ways in which people are oppressed and excluded, we might feel guilty for allowing ourselves joy in our lives. We might believe that we're diminishing the needs in our world or even the tough stuff that's happening in our own lives. I believe the opposite is more true. When we eliminate joy from our lives because of guilt or despair, we lose our edge and our energy to make the world kinder, loving, and beautiful. Joy is the energy we need to infuse into our everyday lives. Now, does this mean that we get to be happy all the time and we should just always fake it? No. That's not realistic or even fair. We get to have all the emotions and to feel them in authentic ways. I've had lots of discussions and even arguments about joy and happiness. That sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it? We're going to argue about happiness and joy, but it happens. What do these things mean, and is it okay to experience them? Is there a difference between joy and happiness? If so, what is that difference? And why does it matter? So I'm going to tell you my perspective. And we can argue about it later if you'd like to. I think that happiness is a conditional experience that's emotional in nature. Now, I love being happy. I love conditional experiences that make me happy. I love waking up on the right side of the bed and everything going well in the day. It's uplifting, it's strengthening, and it just generally feels good, and I like to feel good. Joy is less circumstantial for me. What I find joy in has more to do with what I believe is fundamentally true that is good. For instance, the psalmist talking about the presence of God bringing joy to their life. That is a foundational truth for the psalmist that they can return to again and again and again, no matter what circumstances they find themselves in. When Nehemiah tells the people that they shouldn't grieve because they find themselves in a particular situation, but that they should rejoice that they experienced a holy day. That's a truth about the day itself. So Nehemiah is saying, right now, prioritize the holiness of the day. The circumstances will come upon you. We'll figure those out. We'll sort those out. But prioritize the truth of the goodness of this day that we have experienced together. Practicing joy through rejoicing creates a pattern internally that helps us shift the weight of hard stuff on something more substantial than what's hard, such as the love we have for one another, the beauty that's in the world, or on God's presence with us. We can move through moments, one step at a time, knowing that there's something good that deserves to be honored by our joy. So practicing joy is an act. This can be the strength that rises up within us. Not trying to conjure happiness, but remembering that there's a joy that's stronger than pain. In Psalm 30, it says, weeping may linger for the night, but joy comes in the morning. Now, I know weeping can last for way longer than the night. But this is a symbol of the idea that weeping and sadness only lasts so long, but that joy, that beauty, that goodness is an underlying truth that we can count on and that we can stand on and use. Joy is more substantial and foundational than sorrow and pain. We can even be unhappy and yet have a foundation of joy inside us that can help us to carry through the hardest of times. They can both be living within us concurrently. My prayer for all of us is that we find that foundation. What can you turn to regularly, consistently, as a source of true goodness and beauty? Think about it. What do you have? Now, when it comes to rejoicing, like there's your joy, that foundation. When it comes to the action of rejoicing, you might have to kickstart it a little bit. So, how do you do that? Drumming, dancing, the way Ari talks about doing. Maybe you're like, well, drumming and dancing doesn't do it for me. I don't like that. Sweeping the kitchen. Some people really find joy in cleaning. Planting a garden. Crocheting a blanket. What helps you to release that foundation that you can say, I am now participating in this joy so that I don't have to go all the way into despair. I can still manage the fact that whatever it is that is happening stinks and is hard and I hate it. But I can do it. Because there is a thread of shimmering joy that is your strength and is your foundation. So rejoice whenever you can. Create those patterns inside of you, because those patterns are going to be what you return to in those moments when you need them most. I had a pastor in the Pentecostal church. Now, I know that we don't speak in tongues here. At least I don't know how many of you do, but we don't do it generally out loud in the congregation. But at the time, in the religious tradition I was in, that was one of the things that we practiced. That was our prayer practice often, was speaking in tongues. And he went to the dentist one time, and he was under whatever they put him under to get the job done. And he started speaking in tongues in the dentist chair. And I think that that's really beautiful, because what it tells me is that that was his pattern. That was what he turned to. He turned to his prayer language. He turned to the thing that made him rejoice. So I started wondering if I got into, or, when something happens in a car, for instance. When something sudden happens, what are the words that come out of my mouth? Are they prayer language words? Or are they not so much? How can I practice? How can I create that pattern inside of me so that when something sudden happens, or something who knows is going on, that that my thoughts and my emotions and that my language reflect something that's going to help me, rather than maybe embarrass me in front of people? You're the pastor of a church, and you said what? It's a good thing to practice. So may this kind of a practice sustain you, bring you through whatever's going on, and yes, even bring you happiness. Rejoice whenever you can. It gives us the energy to make the world and our lives better. Peace.
Shine on our world today.
Please join your hearts with mine in prayer. Holy Love, my impulse is to ask that you would just make everything better. But that by a word that you speak or the wave of your proverbial hand, that things would just be better. But I don't know that you've made creation as an opportunity for you to manipulate your power in that way. And you've given us power and authority and agency to help to make things better, to find the beauty and the wonderment and the mystery and the joy as we go along through life. So my request is that you would open our eyes and our ears and all of our senses so that we can absorb and receive all of that goodness and then be agents of it. We send our energies now to Jim Bolin to undergird him, to strengthen him as he goes through this journey of transformation from this form of life to whatever it is that comes next. May his journey be filled with great anticipation and something beyond our imaginations. We pray for Barbara that her literal journey from here to San Antonio be wonderful and full of anticipation and goodness, and that she settles in easily there. And for others that we know about and don't know about, we offer our energies in this prayer. We lift them up and send them along, asking for you to be the courier, Holy Spirit, to deliver the goodness, the hope, the peace, and the joy that we have to offer from our own selves. And if we think that it isn't sufficient in our own selves, that we send it anyway, because the gift that we have to offer is good enough, even if it isn't perfect. And we thank you that you have given us different points of that joy and that beauty to return to again and again, to sustain us and to encourage each other in. And we ask that this be a place where that energy resides, and that we are a people that just by our presence, others can tell that there's a point to be here. There's a reason to engage, and that there is a bountiful, interwoven net of support, and that lives will be changed because your presence with us allows us to lend our presence to others. And because we do this work the way we do it in church, as a fellowship, as a ministry, let us lift up our voices together in these words of prayer, saying, together we defy the darkness by being the light. We make violence tremble by being peacemakers. When chaos and trauma cause distress, we counter by reaching for love and remembering joy. This day, when people are going hungry, give us bread to share. This day, when people are angry and hurtful, give us forgiveness to offer. When there is so much temptation to be selfish and careless, this day, give us the strength to be kind and intentional. As we wait and prepare to celebrate the birth of a holy child, Remind us that we are all born holy and deserve love and tenderness. In the many names of love, may it be so.
Each week we take two offerings. One is for the church, which goes into our general funds for the running of the church and our ministries. The second is the loose offering, which is sent to a designated charity, which changes each week. If you brought your offering in person today, you are welcome to drop it in the offering box in the back. It is the glass church near the doors to the narthex. Today's loose offering will go to the Meals on Wheels program at NAM. This program delivers hot, well-balanced meals to the donors, to the doors of seniors and other neighbors who are homebound because of disabilities or illness. By supporting their nutritional needs, this program helps participants maintain or improve their health, remain independent, and stay in their homes for as long as possible. With each delivery, volunteers provide a few moments of conversation and a check on their clients' well-being each day. If you would like to give to our general fund, to the loose offering, or to both, you can use bill pay from your bank, send us a check, use the Plymouth app, or use PushPay according to the directions on your screen. As always, thank you for supporting Plymouth and the ministries of the loose offering. And we join our voices together in the offertory prayer. Even during Advent, a time set aside for waiting, it is often very hard for us to wait. Our world worships the power that acts quickly through force.
The time and talent and treasure of this offering is a way for us to act, a way for us to bring the beloved kingdom here to earth.
We open our hearts and spirits to new birth and transformation.
We commit what we have
Let's sing together, What Child Is This, verse 1 and 3. It is number 148 from the New Central Hymnal, which you can find under your seats.
Bring gifts of incense, gold, and myrrh. Join in jubilation. The Holy Child, though meek and mild, has come with God's salvation. Raise a song on high. The mother sings hello. Joy, for Christ is born, the babe, the child of Mary.
And now, my friends, it's time to go from this moment to whatever it is that you have next, and may there be some element of joy that you find either in it or some element of joy that sustains you. Please stay for the time of fellowship so that we can get to know each other better. But go forth knowing that your very life is a joy to someone. There's just some relationship that you have that brings somebody some kind of joy and foundation. Go forth as if you really believe that's true. And go forth knowing that somebody is a joy to you and they are happy to lend you their strength. And maybe it's God's own self, but it might be other humans that you have in your life. Go forth in that strength as well, in peace and as peacemakers.
Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, prospero año y felicidad. Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, prospero año y felicidad. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas from the bottom of my heart. Wish you a Merry Christmas. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas from the bottom of my heart. Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad.